Before we start developing an app, what are the components? First of all, the planning needs to take place. Planning needs to take place. And we are going to develop an application with the help of an Android device. An Android device. Possibly your cell phone or a tab we call it. Right? First of all, the planning session, what does the planning session say? Look at page number 129. The development of interface and the environment. Which environment we are going to develop. Now let's understand the different components of App Inventor interface. I told you, okay, you have a interface. Interface means what happens is which facilitates the development and the tool which is going to be connected. In between these two we have to have a middleman. It's called as interface. It's called as what? Interface. I'll give an example, you'll understand far better. What is this middleman is all about? There are so many. You buy something online. You make the payment. When you make the payment between the seller and the buyer, there is a middleman. What happens is, you make the payment, it goes to an interface. A middleman, digital middleman will be there to go there, and the digital middleman in turn take the money and give it to the seller. I am the purchaser and he is the seller. For example, I am buying from Amazon.in or I buy from Flipkart.com, whatever be that, any online for that matter. So there is a interface between the buyer and the seller. That interface, the third person, the third party is also called as digital middleman. It's also called as what? Digital middleman. Now exactly here, you develop an app on your laptop or your desktop. That app which will directly connect to what you develop, what you design, what you do the modifications, it gets reflected in your device which is connected. Let's say that you are connected your mobile, cell phone, right? So between these two there has to be an interface. I am not talking about digital middleman, here we call it as an interface. Now let's see that. A palette contains the components and the visual elements in which you can drag and drop your palette means what? Color palette. Have you seen the artist? Artists, they will have a plate. Plenty of circles will be there and in the middle big one will be there. The artist takes the brush, multivarious colors he mixes up. That's called as the color palette. It's called as what? Color palette. Exactly here also. Now, what you wanted, you will have a variety of choices. All the components will be there. Whichever we the developers require, we drag and drop. We drag and drop it. Okay, that's what the palette is all about. Palette will have a various components which contains the components and the visual elements which you can drag and use in your application. This is what the palette, where it is a variety of component which is there on page number 129 right on top. What do you mean by designer button? In designer button mode, you can drag the components and see the design of your app. When in blocks mode, you can add the code, you can add the code blocks for that functionality. What do you mean by that? You have a list of components. What happens is you can drag it, okay, when in blocks mode, and you can add the code. Code means what? Coding means what? Programming. You can add the code in that blocks. What is the functionality of each block is all about. What do you mean by viewer? This is where the ultimate output of your app. Viewer means the space for your app layout. you can drag the components from the palette here and use the component in your app. What do you mean by the properties? The properties, selected components, you can set the properties like color, size, behavior, etc. for selected component here. As you see in the given picture, page number 129, if you see, you will find on your left hand side, you will find the palette. Okay, on your right hand side, you will find the designer button. That's what the title is. The two buttons that you see on top right are being explained right below. Let's talk about what is this designer button, what is the palette, what is the viewer, what are the properties, component and their properties. Four things we will see here. What the first one is designer button. When you click on the designer button, which gives you the app layout. What do you mean by layout screen? How does it looks? How does it looks? Where you can design the layout by dropping the component for your app. That is, you can see how your app looks visually. Right? This is the first one. The four columns that you can see. There are column means what do you mean by column? Whichever is there. Horizontally is called as row. Whatever you have vertically is called as column. There are four columns up there that you see above diagram of page number 129, that is called as designer mode. When designer button is pressed, four columns will pops up. What the first column is? Palette. The palette column contains a list of components like buttons, canvases, which can be dragged into your viewer screen. You will have a viewer screen, whichever you want it, click, drag it and drop it here. Okay, in the viewer screen. Once you have a drag component over the screen viewer, it can be used in your app. This is the first one, which is called as screen viewer. What the second one is called as? The viewer column. First one is palette, the second one is viewer. This column contains screen viewer, which helps you to picturize your app. How does it exactly looks on your tab or on your phone? Okay, it visualizes you how does it look. Third one is called as, the third column is called as components. What are the components are called as? The component column contains list of all the components that needs to be added in your application. What are the fourth column, which is the last column, is called as properties. The first column is called as palette. The second column is viewer screen. Third column is component. And the last fourth column is called as properties. When you click on the component in a screensaver, its properties come up in the column. Each component has a different kinds of properties based on its purposes. The ball, for example, we have a figure called as ball. For example, the ball will have a radius because it's spherical in shape. Ball cannot be square in shape, right? The ball has to be in a spherical shape. So you need to give the radius of the ball. And what is the size of the ball? What is the color of the ball? If you want that ball to be spin, okay, what is the speed of the spin, RPM, revolution per minute, okay. Then the canvas, however, needs nothing to be done, okay, it's tough. It has a size, background image and the line width. You can set up these properties. For example, if I wanted to add some components, how does the component should look like? As I told you, instead of using a ball, I wanted to have a cube, right? Cube is what? All the sizes will be the same. How do you want to present the cube? What is the size of the cube? what are the different colors of the cube you wanted to present in your app. Okay, these are all the properties. We the developers can choose their property of a item or component chosen. Now let's talk about the block buttons. Let's talk about the block buttons. When you click on the block buttons, okay, it opens where you can add the code. Code means what? A program, code blocks that will govern how the component will behave. Coding means programming. When you click on the block button on the top right, it opens a block editor for you. The block editor is where your program of the behavior of your app. This is where the coding is very, very crucial. You can drag and drop various components. When you click on the component, what it should do. So that is where the coding is very, very crucial, boys and girls, and very, very vital. Okay. Now what does it do? There are built-in blocks are there that can handle things like mathematics, mathematical problems, text problems. Below that are blocks go with each of the component in your app. In order to get a block for a certain component, show the block editor. The moment you click on the block, an editor will come up. Then in that editor you must write your coding, your programming you must do. Okay? You first have to add the component to your app through the designer. Once if you have that component, click on the editor where your behavior of that particular component needs to be coded. Okay? How do we design or how do we the functionality of each element of the app we shall see. Okay? Each element of the app. Page number 132 onwards is a practical one, because you and I are virtual classes. Let's not do the practical, only that page number 131 only we will do it. Okay, this chapter I'll wind up with this. Okay, up to page number 131. The designing part of it and the functionality of each component of your app will be told in the next class. I repeat again, boys and girls, today in the previous class we have seen your app needs to be installed. Once it is installed, you have to have an emulator. The emulator will get connected, then the interface will be there. Today what did we see? Today we saw the interface and its environment. There are 4 columns we have come across. What are they? The panel column, the screen viewer column, third one is called as component column, and fourth one is called as property we have seen. Next class, which will be the last class of this chapter, what are we going to do it? We shall see the functionality of each component and how are we going to design it. Okay, how are we going to design it, we shall see. I repeat again, I'll sum it up what has been done so far. Okay, first of all, we have learned what is an app. Okay, then where do we get the ready-made app? Either from the Google Play Store or from iOS App Store. Okay, and different commonly used app we have seen. We have seen the Google Maps, we have seen the email, we have seen the Facebook, Instagram and the Twitter. Followed by, we have seen the video conferencing softwares like Skype, then WhatsApp, WeChat and Telegram. We have seen the YouTube channel, we have seen Temple Run, Angry Birds, these are the gaming app, then shopping app, e-commerce app called as Amazon, Flipkart and all. Okay, then different types of app we have come across. One is called as, which is there, which is installed in your desktop, okay, which has got a constant power supply and has got a huge amount of memory. The second one is called as web app. Web app is when you are online, you can use the app. When you are offline, that app cannot be used. Okay, whenever you are online 24/7, you can use the web app. And the app which I am talking about, which is being designed, is called as mobile app. Different types of app we have seen. Then development of simple app. How do we do it? We have learned the development of simple app. First of all, we need to install and set up the inventor. Okay, inventor app. You go to that website, start downloading. Once if it is downloaded, the software is downloaded in inventor, then install it. Once if it is installed, and you start using the installed software called as AI starter. AI is sort of form of artificial intelligence starter. When you double click on that, what happens is your app which has been downloaded and installed starts. Then setting up an emulator. What do you mean emulator is? Emulator is a device, the app which you have installed in your desktop or laptop that gets connected to the device where the app will be installed. Okay, whatever you decided, how does it look like? Maybe in your tab or maybe in your mobile. Then how do we set up? Because we have no control over iOS devices. That's why how do we set up the Android device we have seen in the previous class. Then today what we see is the development and the environment of the app. There are 4 things are there. What the first one is called is palette. 4 columns are there. Palette followed by screen viewer, then followed by properties and the component. 4 of them we have seen. The next class, the last class of this chapter, designing and functionality of each app we shall see in the next class. Till just then, boys and girls, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.